Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. So, Alpha 3.14 was stripped of many exciting features a few weeks ago. However, I am still really excited for this patch, and today I would like to explain why. As always, these videos are made possible thanks to my very generous patrons and channel members. Thank you guys so much for the support. Also, if you do enjoy my content, please consider hitting that subscribe button and helping the channel to grow. So, as we can all remember, when personal inventories, healing and FPS radar and scanning features slipped from 3.14 to 3.15, it was of course a bit of a bummer as all of these features were very highly anticipated. Because of this, a lot of us no longer felt so hyped for 3.14, but in their place, however, were a few new features added, all of which I personally think are in their own right pretty damn exciting, especially when you hear the devs talking about plans to rebalance all of the ships due to these features. A rebalance that has been needed for a long while now. So today's video is partly an updated why I'm excited for 3.14, as the changes do slightly make the previous video a little redundant, but also this video is to help shed some light into why Alpha 3.14 is still an exciting patch to be hyped for. So kicking off with the obvious, which I will say is still tentative and not yet committed, but I personally don't think it will slip, is the Crusader planet and its landing zone Orison. Now this has not changed for a while and it is still in the release view, so we will move on, but I'm extremely excited to check out both Orison and its gas giant planet. We have been following along with its development for weeks. We know it was a big task for them to create the gas giant tech to be as good as it can be, and Orison does look like an incredible location. The Crusader planet also has some air of divinity to it, as it was the very first planet we got to see in the Stanton system in the PU, and it is to be the last. So for years it has been teasing us, but alas, it is finally upon us. Unless it slips, of course. So before we get to gameplay, one new feature which was completely sprung upon all of us by surprise was Planetary Volumetric Clouds version 1. Now we have been following along with the development of planetary clouds for a long while now, not visually but scripturally. Every month for what must have been a few years, we have read about the development of clouds and it all sounded fantastic, but we have yet to see any imagery of what it looks like. So to suddenly see it appear on the roadmap and ready for the next patch release 1 month before it's scheduled to release was a huge boost for me personally. Now, as I say, we have no idea how clouds will look. Of course, with it being just version 1, expect more iterations and improvements on planetary clouds in the future, but I can imagine that from what we've read, they are going to be pretty incredible, and also with the implementation of clouds, this does mean that weather effects can finally begin getting worked on, which is something that I have been looking forward to for a long while now. Also, it was mentioned somewhere, and I can't remember where, that the clouds will vary from location to location, so don't expect one simple cloud type. Now moving on to gameplay, which was pretty much the biggest section hit by the pushbacks. Firstly, to maybe clear up something, as I did see a little confusion with the FPS radars and scanners getting pushed to 3.15. I think many people confuse this with the ship radar scanning and ping as well. However, the updates for the ship scanners remain in 3.14. It is just specifically the FPS version that are now scheduled for the end of September. But with that out of the way, the updates to ship radars, scanners and ping are not to be undervalued. It is not simply just a UI conversion and a slight refresh, it also brings with it a huge change to the ships across the board. Now, it was recently spoken about during the Military Ship Star Citizen Live, in which John Cruz states that the radar and scanning system works nothing like the current system, and so all the ships will behave differently to what they do now. Now, he does say that these changes will roll out over the next few patches, and alongside capacitor gameplay, which I will address next, he says they are changing all the stats on every single ship from handling, health, weapons and ammo counts that will shuffle everything around and put all the ships in a good place where they intended them to be, so making them behave more like their intended role, hopefully creating more requirements for us to use other ships rather than just the same meta ships all the time. So as mentioned, capacitor gameplay. Now the term capacitor will be rebranded and renamed, likely in time for 3.14's release, but this deliverable is now called Power Management version 2 on the roadmap view, and encompasses all the capacitor gameplay, which will allow us to make better use of our power and resources should we need to defend, attack, pursue, or evade, granting us extra energy to put into either thrusters, weapons, or shields for a short duration. Now, we are yet to fully experience what these changes will feel like and how they will directly affect ships and combat as a whole, but also due to these updates, this rebalance will help bring more requirements for all ship types, be that small, medium, light, heavy, etc., and hopefully reward more thoughtful and tactical pilots, encouraging teamwork and planning. So as much as I'm very unsure as to what to expect from capacitors, I am itching to get my hands on it and just see how it feels and how it changes the ships and combat. So sticking with the ship combat theme, another area getting a huge update are the missiles. Now for 3.14 the changes are twofold. Firstly, we have the updated missile guidance and control rework. Now this means missiles A will have finite fuel, and if they don't reach their target in time, the fuel will deplete and they will have failed, meaning evasion is more of an option, and the use of missiles will require better planning. And B, the missile flight system has been converted to use IFCS-2, which is the same intelligent flight control system that ships use, meaning missiles will behave, fly and track targets more realistically and consistently. Now the second big change for missile gameplay is this missile operator mode. Now this creates a dedicated operator mode, so pilots will need to toggle between either weapons or missiles, not being able to fire both simultaneously, of which I am pretty unsure whether I like this or not. We will have to see how it plays, but also it means that for missile boats, a dedicated player can actually take control of the missiles and fire them as and when they please. Now for me, this is the best aspect of this feature. Any expansion on multi-crew is a big step in the right direction, and I love the idea of a pilot and missile operator working together to take down ships, employing teamwork and tactics to overcome the enemy, and just utilizing missiles more thoughtfully will be a great experience. Now, one feature that hasn't changed for a while is the lore system version to surrender. This means players won't need to lose their life if they choose to surrender by halting their ship and powering down when ordered to. Your ship will become impounded and you will awake in prison. Now, I'm not entirely sure in what way, if at all, this will initially impact the bounty hunting mechanic or players in the verse, and whether players will even choose to surrender when it comes in, as death currently holds no punishment other than loss of time. So I am very interested in how CIG will create a reason for players to choose surrender over fighting to the death while we are waiting for the death of a spaceman mechanic. My idea would probably be to just reduce the prison sentence if you choose surrender over fighting to the death, but we will see. Now on to ships and vehicles. First up, we have the Constellation Taurus. Still tentative, hopefully it won't slip. It's possible it could be releasing in a 3.14.1, but let us hope that it gets the committed label soon. Now there's nothing much to say about the Constellation Taurus in this video. It is the final Constellation variant used for hauling, and it will be very nice to finally get all the Connie series in the game. Now, one newly brought in feature which is already committed is canvas sliced ship HUDs. Now for this, I'm not entirely certain how this is all going to look. They are still developing the manufacturer specific HUDs, which I don't think are included with this. I don't think they're anything to do with this as such, but ship HUDs can certainly be improved. And with the upcoming capacitor gameplay, it will be even more important and necessary to have a coherent HUD to help pilots understand everything that's going on. Now this update does say it'll provide an improved layout that maximizes screen real estate and provides more information and depth to pilots. We are yet to see exactly how this looks, so I can't really comment on whether it'll be better or worse, but I am excited to see what it includes, and hopefully it will just make it a lot more intuitive and less cluttered. So that brings me almost to the end of the video. I have covered everything that is currently listed on the roadmap viewer for Alpha 3.14, which can and likely will still change. Hopefully though, not for the worse. What I mean by this is there is still potential for new features to be included in the 3.14 release, which are being worked on now, and I feel the 3.14 patch has a good chance of seeing other features make their way in, like we have seen with the previous 3.13, 3.12, 3.11, where unknown features were dropped in at the last minute. Ships, for example, are often features that pop up on the roadmap after the initial release of a patch, as CIG do like to keep them quiet. We have a few potential leaked ships floating around, which I won't go into on today's video, but I certainly do expect some new ships to make an appearance with Alpha 3.14. iCache is largely completed and due to be implemented for Alpha 3.14, or the Super P cache as CIG referred to it in the latest monthly report, with them specifically saying work wrapped up on the Super P cache for the next release, being 3.14. Now there is no concrete answer as to what the implementation of iCache means for a patch like 3.14, and currently only CIG know exactly what they can and want to do, as iCache is, in its most basic form, nothing more than a function of the network, saving the state of the entities and tracking them in a specific database. Of course, it is a huge win and one of the core pillars to finishing off Star Citizen, but it's more the tech that iCache requires which will determine what changes this can bring for Alpha 3.14. The persistent streaming code, for example, is told by the iCache controller what state everything should be in at a given time, and what could that affect in 3.14? Well, potentially recovering from a 30k, which CIG have spoken about in the past, meaning that when you suffer a 30k being a disconnection from the server, you will be able to relaunch and continue on from where you left off with your ship and its state and all of its contents exactly as you left them, as they are still tracked in the database. Potentially server synchronization, meaning something on one instance can be seen on another instance. But the real question is, does that mean that CIG will begin utilizing this straight away? Not necessarily, but they could if they wanted to and feel ready to. They will be capable of syncing, tracking and persisting the most basic of items between instances, which is something they would likely try, but this subject, as usual, is a far deeper conversation for another time. I think the point that I'm trying to make in this video is that 3.14, as much as many of its exciting features or player-facing features were pushed to 3.15, it is still an exciting patch for player-facing features, but more importantly, it is a major milestone for back-end tech, which should heavily influence the rest of the quarterly patch releases from here on out. But that is now the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you do enjoy my content, please consider hitting that subscribe button, helping the channel to grow. Also, if you want to talk more about Star Citizen 3.14, or even just watch me play and hang out with my community, you are all more than welcome over on twitch.tv/supermacbrothers. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, it does the channel a big favour, and if you want to be part of the notification squad, tick that notification bell to be notified when my videos go live. Again, huge thank you to my patrons and channel members. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.